Don't worry, sweetheart, he smirked, swirling his wine like it was liquid gold. You'll come crawling back the second your credit card stops working. His friends laughed, the kind of hollow laughter that echoes longer than it should. I sat there, silent, staring at the reflection of that laugh in the glass. The chandelier above us trembled slightly, maybe from the air conditioner, or maybe because the universe hates arrogance just as much as I do. Relax, he added, voice dripping with mock sympathy. You've had a good run. But without my money, you'll fold in a week. I smiled then, the kind of small, polite smile that carries a secret. Hi everyone, my name is Ava Lockhart, and I was 31 when my husband decided to test what I was worth without him. He thought money made the world spin. I thought love did. We were both wrong. That night, while he poured another glass of wine, I quietly folded the life he paid for into a single suitcase. My hands didn't shake. They used to, back when his approval meant something. Back when every dress, every dinner, every gift was a reminder that he owned the air I breathed. When he finally noticed, I was standing by the marble counter, the one he used to brag about, saying, Italian, just like my taste. My car keys glinted under the kitchen light as I set them down. He frowned. What are you doing? Returning the things you think make me yours. He laughed, genuinely amused. You're bluffing. I looked at him one last time, not as my husband, but as a man terrified of losing control. You'll find out tomorrow, I said softly, and walked out barefoot into the cold night. Outside, the world didn't end. The stars didn't dim. But something inside me shifted, like a door unlocking in a quiet house. He thought I'd fall apart without his money. He had no idea the empire he built was standing on my signature. The next morning, his phone wouldn't stop ringing. And neither would mine. The next morning, I woke up in a small rental loft above a florist shop, the kind that smelled like rain and eucalyptus. My phone was buzzing non-stop. 15 missed calls. All from him. Then 3 from his father. And 1 from his boss. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I brewed my own coffee, the first cup I'd paid for myself in years. It tasted nothing like the imported roast he used to buy. It tasted better. By 9 a.m., the messages turned desperate. Him, Ava, we need to talk. Him, did you do something to the accounts? Him, call me right now. I didn't. Because technically, I didn't do anything illegal. I just took back what was mine. You see, my husband, Elliot, ran his father's real estate firm. But every investment, every contract, every major purchase, was under my legal review. Not because I was his wife, but because I was the company's chief financial officer before I ever became Mrs. Lockhart. He loved reminding people he saved me from a dead-end job. What he didn't love was reading fine print. Especially the kind that gave me partial control over his assets. At 10:12 a.m., his father called again. This time, he left a voicemail. Ava, sweetheart, could you please call me? There's been confusion at the bank. Confusion. That's what they called it when every one of Elliot's accounts froze simultaneously. By noon, the office must have been chaos. I pictured him standing there, sleeves rolled up, shouting at assistants, trying to call in favors. But the system was airtight. I'd designed it. Every emergency authorization required dual approval, his and mine. And now, only one of us had access. That night, as I watched the city lights flicker outside my new window, I whispered to myself. He laughed, thinking I'd crawl back. But the only thing crawling now was his empire. By the second day, Elliot's confidence had turned into something uglier, panic. I could almost hear it through the phone, even when I didn't pick up. His messages went from smug to pleading to furious, all in the span of 6 hours. Him, you're sabotaging me. Him, you don't understand how this looks. Him, my father is losing his mind, call ME. The truth? I understood exactly how it looked. Because for years, I was the one who made it look perfect. Every number, every investor pitch, every report that built the illusion of the Lockhart legacy. But there was something Elliot never noticed. The company wasn't just a family business. It was my brainchild. I was the one who cleaned up his reckless spending, the one who balanced the losses, the one who designed the expansion plan that got them their biggest deal yet. Without me, that structure wasn't just fragile, it was hollow. By noon, the media caught the scent. A whisper on a business forum, Lockhart Properties faces internal freeze. By evening, it hit financial news. The Lockhart name, once a symbol of money and power, was now trending beside words like investigation and audit. I sat in a quiet cafe, scrolling through the headlines, feeling, not satisfaction exactly, more like relief. For the first time, I wasn't responsible for cleaning up his mess. That night, Elliot's father showed up at my apartment building. I didn't open the door, but I watched him from the security camera feed, standing there in a pressed suit, shoulders trembling, holding a single folder. He looked older. Defeated. He pressed the intercom and said softly, "Ava, if there's something we need to fix, please, talk to me before this destroys him." Destroys him? Not a word about what he did to me. I turned off the screen. For the first time in years, I slept without guilt. Tomorrow, I knew, they'd try to fight back. And I was ready. The next morning, I woke up to my name trending, not his. Ava Lockhart, the woman who froze a millionaire's empire overnight. Some called me heartless. Others called me brilliant. I didn't care what they called me. I just watched the story unfold from a cracked screen with my coffee in hand. At 8:40 a.m., I got the first knock on my door. It wasn't Elliot. It was a courier with legal papers, an emergency injunction demanding I restore access to all business accounts. Signed by Lockhart and Associates. I smiled. The irony? I was still technically one of the associates. By noon, Elliot himself called, voice trembling, ego cracked. "Ava, please, you don't understand. My father's threatening to cut me off. We're being audited. Just give me the passwords back and I'll fix everything." Fix everything? I repeated quietly. "You mean like the way you fixed our marriage?" Silence. Then his voice softened, manipulative, rehearsed. "You're angry. I get it. But you can't destroy everything we built." I laughed, low, calm. "You mean everything I built?" He didn't answer. Instead, I heard a sound behind him, a woman's voice, distant, nervous. The one who used to accidentally text him late at night. "Tell her to stop listening," I said flatly. Then I hung up. They wanted a war? Fine. That afternoon, I submitted a sealed report to the board, detailing years of financial irregularities. Misreported earnings. Misused funds. All signed under Elliot's name. Because he never read what he signed. By 6 p.m., Lockhart and Associates wasn't a family empire anymore. It was an active federal audit. I didn't need revenge to ruin him. I just needed the truth, printed neatly on letterhead. And as I watched the sun set through the blinds, I realized something. He once told me money was power. But no, information was. And I just weaponized it. By the end of that week, their mansion had turned into a newsroom. Reporters parked outside, drones hovered over the marble driveway, and Elliot's perfect world cracked live on television. His father tried to spin the narrative. "Internal miscommunication," he said, smiling through gritted teeth at a press conference. But the numbers didn't lie. Every transaction trail led back to Elliot's personal accounts, dinners labeled as client meetings, gifts tagged as marketing expenses, and hundreds of thousands diverted into something called consulting fees. That consultant had her name on luxury bags and hotel bills. And the best part? All of it was approved by his digital signature, the one he never bothered to secure because I set up his accounts. When the board finally suspended him, he called me again. Not to apologize. To threaten. "You think this makes you powerful," he spat. "You've destroyed my name. My career. My father's legacy." I let him speak. Every word was fuel. Then I said softly, "No, Elliot. You destroyed your name the day you laughed at me." There was silence, the kind that stretches between two people who know it's truly over. Then, quietly, he muttered, "They're saying I might lose everything." I exhaled, almost gently. "Then maybe you'll finally understand what that feels like." 2 days later, Lockhart and Associates filed for temporary closure. Banks froze remaining assets. Partners withdrew. The empire that once looked untouchable was reduced to voicemail apologies and broken promises. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I just walked through the city like a ghost who'd been given her body back. Because revenge isn't about destruction. It's about balance. And for the first time, the scale was even. That night, I got a message from an unknown number. It was short. He's gone. Left the country. I stared at it for a long time, the city lights reflecting off the screen. Good. Let him run. The story wasn't over yet. 3 months passed. The world forgot his name, but I hadn't. I rebuilt quietly, consulting for new firms, investing under my maiden name, avoiding every headline that still used the word Lockhart. My life was finally quiet. Too quiet. Then one evening, I walked into a charity gala downtown, invited as a guest speaker for women in finance. That's when I saw him. Elliot. He looked thinner, his arrogance stripped away, wearing the same designer suit but without the confidence to fill it. When our eyes met across the room, he froze. Then, unbelievably, he smiled. He walked over slowly, glass in hand. Ava. You look successful. Independent, I corrected. He laughed, that same brittle laugh that once made my skin crawl. You win, all right? You've proven your point. But maybe we could. I stopped him with a look. Elliot, you came here for something. Say it. He sighed, lowering his voice. My father's company's gone. The properties, sold. But there's one last account. It's still locked. Only you can release it. I tilted my head. And why would I help you? Because it's not for me, he said. It's for my employees. They're still waiting for severance. Please. For the first time in months, I saw something almost human behind his eyes. Regret? Maybe. Or desperation pretending to be it. I told him to meet me the next morning at the bank. He showed up early, too early. I arrived to find him already inside, pacing in front of the manager's desk. When I walked in, every head turned. The manager nodded respectfully. Mrs. Lockhart, we've verified everything. The funds will transfer once you authorize. Elliot looked relieved, whispering, thank you. I pressed my thumb on the scanner. Then looked up at him and said, you're welcome, for what's yours. Not for what's mine. The funds cleared, straight to the employees. Not a cent to his name. He stayed, speechless. You really won't stop until justice looks me in the eye, I said, walking away. And for the first time, it almost did. The following week, the papers called it an act of integrity. The staff got their severance, the employees thanked me publicly, and suddenly I became the woman who saved hundreds of jobs from a collapsing empire. But Elliot didn't care about reputation anymore. He cared about revenge. He started showing up in places I hadn't seen him before, the coffee shop near my office, the park where I jogged, even the parking garage below my apartment. Never close enough to speak, just close enough to remind me that I'd stolen his power. Then, one night, I received a document in my inbox, unsigned, but clearly from him. A proposal. He wanted to merge my newly founded company with what was left of Lockhart Properties. To rebuild what we once had, he wrote. Together. I laughed aloud. The kind of laughter that hurts your ribs. Together? The man who once said I'd crumble without his wealth now wanted to rebuild his empire with mine. Still, I didn't delete it. Instead, I drafted a single reply. Meet me tomorrow. 9 a.m. At the old Lockhart office. Bring the contract. He came, of course. Same suit. Same cologne. Same overconfidence trying to crawl back into his veins. As he sat across from me in that hollow boardroom, he slid the folder across the table. It's all legal. You'll keep control. Just sign, and we both win. I opened the folder. The logo still said Lockhart and Associates. I smiled faintly. Funny, I said. You still think your name opens doors? He frowned. What's that supposed to? I interrupted softly, sliding a second folder toward him, my own document. I already filed this morning, I said. Lockhart and Associates doesn't exist anymore. It's been absorbed into AL Holdings. He blinked, confused. What's AL? Ava Lockhart. I stood up, gathering my things. You didn't just lose the company, Elliot. You signed it over the day you told me I was nothing without you. And as I left, the weight I'd carried for years finally fell away. A month later, the office walls bore a new nameplate, AL Holdings. The gold letters gleamed in the morning sun, quiet, deliberate, final. Reporters wanted statements, interviews, even documentaries. I declined them all. I didn't need the world to know my revenge. I only needed him to see it. And he did. The last time I saw Elliot, he stood across the street from the new building, staring at the logo that used to carry his family name. The wind tugged at his tie, and for a moment, he looked small, not the man who once ruled dinner tables with laughter and arrogance, but someone stripped of illusion. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. I could read it in his eyes, the slow realization that he hadn't just lost money or reputation, he'd lost the woman who once believed in him, and the foundation she'd quietly built beneath him. As I stepped outside, our eyes met one last time. I smiled gently, not in victory, but in closure. Elliot, I said, you were right about one thing. He blinked, wary. What's that? I looked up at the building behind me, its mirrored glass catching the sunrise. I did fall apart. Just not in the way you expected. I broke, so I could rebuild stronger. He swallowed hard, his voice barely a whisper. Without me. Because of you. The words hung in the air, clean and unshakable. He turned and walked away, no last plea, no defiant speech. Just silence. The kind that means a story has truly ended. I stood there for a moment longer, watching his reflection fade into the traffic, and felt something rare, peace. I thought back to that night when I'd dropped the keys on the counter. How small I'd felt then, how certain he was that I'd crawl back. And now, as the world moved around me, I realized I hadn't crawled. I'd risen. The bank still called sometimes, investors wanted meetings, and life spun faster than ever. But inside, I'd already arrived somewhere wealth couldn't touch. Freedom.